politics no edidi yetirimu to the stand they say timamufo ho chire wo mo a na look as if said there ono wo opposition no eye ne de
Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo
Bemo bibiara kwaba eba PENDREAM TV. So we are new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, bell notification. Na share ma afofro ensa enkebi comment section honawde wadrentre aba. On Saturday, yet say Israel and afenso no America strike eye Iran. Na eno ena make headlines in eye international media and afenso no eye yen local media houses. Na yeshe Russia-Ukraine war, NPP the cookie agenda to save their mesa or mobile mesa up the country Ghana. Now, in this case, I am asking, sir, is NPP cooking another agenda with a conflict and as a sparking between Iran and Israel and America? Now, I didn't know maybe a question with Yatiti a grante Al-Wahab Farouk interview money break it down on the Iran-Israel and America and tokwa ya kosono. Now, utie and semna you could see say and tokwa ya kosono is purely political agenda. And now say if you say enim say Iran build a nuclear weapon. Nemum omo pe bibi ejina so edi aye adia omo pese omo ye entina omo jina sa propaganda message no na ya titi ede another information etodwa ya some NPP journalists cookie an agenda. We all know say Iran war a path bi anasa India sea ye friend no the Strait of Hormuz. Now according to sources no the Strait of Hormuz no a narrow path oil tankers essentially efaho transported oil across the globe. Now about 20% of the world oil trade transported and as essentially through the Strait of Hormuz. Now information ever told you say Iran to me close the Strait of Hormuz. And no and as packet controversy say oil prices is going to rise. And I say oil prices ebe kosro. Eno ene yatiti. NPP is basing on that to cook an agenda to tell Ghanaians say enye President John Dramani Mahama ene afenso NDC amanyoko omomode mo ena ema oil prices eba form omomode mo ena ema afe Ghana enya some economic relief in a few years. President John Dramani Mahama abetena Ghana akonya kesi so na me pesa me kasa ebewano me pesa obeka me ho ne yakotie sene Al-Wahab Farouk echerechere akon a ekoso between Iran, Israel and afenso no America. Yewia yatie yatiti ne comment on some messages via NPP loyalist and I say NPP for ede todwa and I say propaganda NPP for ede todwa efa Iran, Israel, America and tokwaya ekoso.
First of all, and the world is to know the United States of America, all their successive governments, the previous government, since Jimmy Carter time, since George Bush Sr., Clinton, George Bush Jr., Obama, Joe Biden, Abraham Trump 1, Trump 2. And Omobaka, your friend, saying Iran nuclear program. It has been a tension which the world governments have been managing the situation because the Europeans that even initially started, they realized that they were following the Americans blindly. Okay. And they were following the Israelis almost fierce and blindly. So they somehow relaxed. It was the time in the 90s. Lot of the IEA programs or meetings, that was led by the Austria part of the UN arms and then nuclear conventions and also offices, they all accused Iran. It was the same accusation and George Bush at the call. Iraq.
Okay.
But let us not forget, before then, there had been a fight in the 80s. There had been a fight in the 70s between Iraq and Iran. The story at that time, America, Israel at a point have supported Iran to fight Iraq. And then over the period, they supported Iraq to fight Iran. So this has been the complexity as a history between these neighbors between Israel and her neighbors. Meaning, yes, Israel consistently will accuse Iran, on sponsor all the terrorist organizations around the region, i.e. Al-Qaeda, i.e. Daesh or ISIS, i.e. Hezbollah, i.e. Hamas. But the world should also not forget Hamas, for instance, Israel accusing one territorial grounds called the Gaza, called the Hebron, called the West Bank, or Israel state, and a Palestinian also calling themselves state. That Hamas was a foundation, a creation, an establishment by the same Israel. When Yasser Arafat of the PLO, it decided to put Palestinian as a state. These were the proxy criminals called them but at that time. They was established by the Israelis, and I would say Americans no money. And now we grew as breeding mosquitoes in your Gaza. When it becomes big, they turn around and bite you. So it was the system that they created. So now the organization friend Hamas. Now I've been in the baby I will do ya. At what point do you say Iran for the best sponsor? No. The same thing in the United States, Taliban and Mujahideen. I'm on the Russia Tiomu. Mujahideen anti-Asama woman. And Taliban. The history, consistent history, have been there between these two countries and then the neighbors, call it the Middle East and the Arabian Peninsula. Now, Israel consistently said Iran sponsors terrorism. The United States consistently say Iran will develop nuclear arsenals, nuclear warheads, ballistic warheads, using the technology available at the disposal of Iranians. And Israel say they are too much afraid. Their targets can reach, that is the Iranian target, 1,500 kilometers. They can easily reach there. And let us not forget to say, one of the Iranian leaders, that was the then Ayatollah Khomeini, had said, wipe Israel from the region if they don't stop killing the Arabs, that is the Gaza or the Palestinians. It is our issue had always been there. But periodically, America and Israel, that kind of surveillance, hit and run, bombings, against Tehran several times. Now the issue became that we are discussing nuclear. Iran for Ingivu into nuclear warehouse no more program. Iran also had maintained that nuclear is for power.
Okay.
Energy.
Okay.
But not the ballistic warheads now more can.
Okay.
Okay. The International Atomic Agency, IAEA, Iran several times. We have experienced this in the early 2000s and early 2000s, early in the 2020. The PR Austria agency now call Omako. So the Europeans have even relaxed their sides because the trumpeting was America, the trumpeting was this. And involvement of NATO say, okay, could take a military operation, a great military operation. Then at that time, relaxed. They didn't see much because the world should not forget, say, debate to Saddam so. Saddam had developed BBA almost about to strike. And then the back Costo, one of the British finest prime minister, Tony Blair, who blindly followed the same thing as President Trump eyeing. Ekodi, your friend is saying, George Bush Saddam Hussein, but rather the target was they were going after Saddam. They were not going for any nuclear. At the end of the day, exercise, Saddam, they couldn't destroy a country. No? They didn't find one single nuclear warhead. So it is the same thing that the strategists said. Look, we want to tear the guy down. 12 days exercise in July last year. And America for now intervened and said, because they realized at that time at the response of Iran, there was a targets in Israel, targets in Tel Aviv, targets in Beersheba, targets in all over. They noticed that it was too much, and America for intervening. The strategy, the Iranians didn't get it. They realized that no, they were not well prepared. And if you want to hit these people as Israel, Iran for can omit my surprise you. In this regard, can it here? You stay back. You said the fight in the Twajo from June, July, and Komo Koso. Diplomacy was on the course of seeking for lasting solutions to their problems.
Okay.
A year then, just a month ago, President Trump started to stimulate the conversation aggressively. And Koban says that President Trump has started mobilization of moving anytime about USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, the combat troops, the warheads, nuclear warheads, now in America, they will not come back with that fight. Bush, or the USS Abraham Lincoln or move into region, they don't go and come back with that fighting because of the massive number of troops also, massive logistics mobilization, massive money that goes into it. But at the end of the day, let us not forget, American women side way business.
Okay.
But Israel is always being used as an anchor because Israel for their trumpet. Why would Israel exist? Look at between Israel and Tehran. It's about 1,500 kilometers. Then Kwan and neighbor, only Jordan ako. Wako say Beirut, Obi Ankasa. Oko say Jordan, Syria. Oko say Syria, Obi Damascus. Oko Jordan, Obi Ankasa. Only Egypt, Omokoye. Only neighbor Biako. Iran was far away. Iran and Tel Aviv is far away, unlike Jordan, unlike Syria, unlike Beirut, Lebanon, unlike Cyprus, we're far away. And then in the consistency, now say, when it Iran stopping the program, or the Gaddafi YB, when Gaddafi had the program in Musrata, I remember in the early, late 80s, Okoho underground was shared Gaddafi programs, and the power supply, or send it 3 times back to back. Ubia Ankasa. Now President Trump has stepped in. All kinds of not vessels no call. All kinds of vessels no call. Then you have had a discussion just last week around Tuesday or Wednesday and asked them to come to the table. They were already at the table. They were already at the table. They should make a deal. They are asking what deal. The deal, they say, at no given point do we allow Ubia say, no, it's not done like that. Program, baby, I'm person who you program, no one can some be the car best say, CB. My best says, say, programs, and Yaman, I must say, nuclear, my best says, Dodona in July bombings for the 12 days. And see, let us talk diplomacy, let us find solution. What's okay, what? Now, what you walk off. Where were the Europeans? Where were the United Nations? That kind of, that make us a toothless, your friend say, bulldog, as an organization, call it. Where was the UN? Not more but overnight. Whilst even the Tehran, the Iranians were on their way back to their country after the discussions, Oman and the power to have this discussion with the America, Israel, and then Iran. Oman do Omukrum. Then instructions. Because at that time when President Trump was asked, how was the conversation, the negotiation, I said, well, it was inconclusive, but we find a way to solve it. Not in no time. You go into the airspace, incapacitated their air radars, and then you started what is called epic fury by the Americans. Then Israeli started what is called the Lion's Roar. Master called it military operation. But should the world also forget, Russia started military operation. Then when Ukraine and the world did not solve it, they escalated into military invasion. When the military invasion was not adhered to, and almost declare war. Now Israel and then in the America are calling it a military operation. But that is not the scale of military operation. That is a full scale of war or full scale of military invasion. The only invasion in your mind say ground troops of the Americans and Israelis have not touched the ground to go on the combat on the ground fight. I don't know until you can't declare invasion. But when you talk about war there, the kind of bombs and the ballistic missiles and then nipa yeah, it's unprecedented. Okay, you went after the old man. The old man, maybe sir, yeah. The country has a certain precedent, but the Iranian system, the supreme leader is there as what? The head of state. It's not different from Prince Charles.
Yeah.
It's not different from how do we call it? Queen Elizabeth at the time, or a supreme leader of the Iranian one. Almost Council of Governments in A3. The Guard, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Council, no? And also the cleric, that is the woman, your religious people, and sana about the constitutional side, which is the presidency, only a day to day, like prime minister, and to only the head of all. That he performs a religious role and perform all these three functions. Into military reportman, police reportman, intelligence reportman, the council of the, and then the president takes care of the economic affairs and the governance institutions, etc. Into no cry there, to some extent, day to day he receives, like Yemfan say, the overlord of the Ashanti nation, Ashanti kingdom, Otumfo. That is the kind of performance they were performing. And the DC, MC, or YBB, Ashanti regional minister, it doesn't necessarily actually come from the Otumfo. The Ashanti regional minister are political.
Yeah.
And this will be YBB, NDC minister, and also say they had an NPP. And they had an NDC minister, as we say, reference scenario, also they say, affect Otumfo. It's not done that way. But then the surprise thing is that the world. And then America always there's superpower, superpower or veto right, just like China won veto right, just like Chinese won veto right. All the UN permanent 5 missions, 5 permanent council members, excluding the seat one, or only an invited or a sitting chairperson or a chair country at the UN summit, Security Council, making 6. In 5 for no British, America, France, your friends say Russia and China. And come on, no more discuss it. Whenever it comes to Israel, Americans are walk away. Unilateral decision. Israel, the smallest nation among smaller nations of the world, had never one day respected UN. They have never one day respected, say, United Nations is a body of about 189 countries or almost 200 around the world. Powerful bigger nations, including Ukraine, switch Israel how many times? Israel, south to north, 250 kilometers, west to south, east, 90 miles. Just a small nation. But they have done things that UN, and at the end of the day, they come and sit at the UN chamber, or the United Nations General Assembly, and instruct what they want to do, and they never take any instructions. And America, as it is, always in support. Yes, yenim so me alliance. Yes, yenim so me nipa baako. But that fight we pa ni do mo yenite. In fact, it's the most so saddest, and the most saddest aspect of it is the Arabian neighbors. Arabian neighbors now, mama the comfort. Yes, we know. So America, through institutional, through holding agreements in the 1946, will be to say Saudi Arabia or declares okay, and I'm Mecca, Iran, we now Mecca no go form criminals in their attack, and then they want themselves to take cover and control of the security of Saudi Arabia, protecting Saudi Arabia, and then the vessels go see her. They did the same thing. Saddam Hussein in Kuwait and then the vessel go see her. They did the same thing and building the bases. Your friends Qatar. We're building the bases UAE. Or building bases even Lebanon around the peninsula, or as many as 12 ships, as much as 40,000 troops in Umgo region. And it's a banner, more Arabs now, this issue. Egypt and Israel and started the Arabian-Israeli war. It wasn't between Israel and your friends and Iran. It wasn't even between Israel and Palestine. It was Israel and Egypt. But when United States had a president called Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale, government, and American fought because I said, no, there is a needless war. Jimmy Carter on record on the team solve and once that and smoke with the peace pipe with Israel or solve by permanent. If Jacoban is saying, and Assad now, Arab food in my US basis. Mumina protect religion back home. Mumina protect one destiny, one heritage. Because the Houthis, the Sunnis, the other tribe I seen the same tribe in our Iran and one was Saudi Arabia. The same tribe in our Yemen and one was Saudi Arabia. The same tribe in our Yemen and one was Palestine. The same two tribes, the Qurayshi tribe in Iran and one was the whole peninsula. A country be with the change. And a mama political system into someone Casamunia, the mama basis, Israel for basis, American basis around the whole region. And at the end of the day, Iran no yin who's only there or fighting for the interests of all of them. No, to them, almost a bit. That is the cause that Israel, Iran, so the retaliation is say. Now, now I'm will be a bestie. Abesho fee not to a idea and regardless of where it touches and how it lands. It is a serious case in the region. Israel interest or move America in, but let us not forget, say, the world's most intelligent and one of the intelligent prime ministers, undoubtedly, a Bibi Netanyahu. But that one I know, and then I know for sure. It's very clever. And the United States President B. Obebebiano or tries to Obebuleno, he could not do that to Obama. It will know Obama in a problem. Because Obama also equally very intelligent. Obudozu and bamboozled himself over George Bush Sr. He couldn't do that to Clinton at the time that he came first. He went and came back, and went and came back. And he's the only prime minister of your friends, Israel, about 3 times in the history since 1967. Okay. About 3 times. Okay. And he was the one indicted and almost going into jail. Last 2 years was started to Hukum Palestine. Now he was due for jail sentence of corruption and corruptible practices. But that is the catch. Israel Prime Minister be or regardless whoever. Regardless whoever. At any given point, Israel Israel cannot have election. Israel cannot vote. Vote of no confidence. And to not primary general elections. Only elections now parliamentarians, that's called what is called the Israeli Knesset. Parliament now. At any time, coalition government, the city government, Al-Wahab government, make sure me a free. Coalition, Liquid Party, no mono. Namako Lebanon. Like I see dissolve government, we are now therefore another. And to that be consistently Israel 6 months be a change prime minister. You can check Ehud Olmert. You can check Ehud Barak. You can check Jason. Your friend is name. Omar Perez. And this guy, with his wisdom, clever wisdom anyway, but bad, bloody one. Let me put it on his hands. Because Wakum is a Palestine, Wakum Nipa, more than any Israeli prime minister. More than any Israeli prime minister. Not the first, not the last, not Sharon. No, Bia, Wakum Nipache will be Ariel Sharon, quite bad boy. No, where Kum Nipache. And he always used the US government as a cover. Now I started KTBB, so the Israeli Knesset, as a law and constitution of Israel, so whoever the prime minister is, whenever one gun is in the air, whenever there's a bomb over Israel, you cannot. And it's over watch here. Time now there was a calm. Palestine, the NES said yes, Sovereign, and Iran, dear, or 12 days operation because Israel Libyan say Iran be Twaba. In Iran, Twaba, they are the armed guard, the revolution guard, the Israeli armed forces, the Israeli defense forces, the Israeli air force, the Israeli Mossad. When they are in action, nobody goes to a parliament, nobody goes anywhere to vote. 81, political, and Netanyahu, your friend say, Trump. let us not also forget that the same Trump 2016 only a problem because like I said, he will not commit American troops to go and do what Netanyahu wants. And we follow out. And Sana, Trump will be free. And even Trump was voted out because the Jews in Washington, the power brokers, they didn't like Trump say, one support to Israel, Amanankoku. And fear Barney say, now this is the business catch. This is the business catch. President Trump, in the Congress, or in the campaign, presidency, say no. The biggest message on the platform said, he will not commit American troops to wear uniform, and it costs money, and they will not, and they cost their lives. And then a big man gaining popularity, or gaining support all over the United States. I was winning massively against Joe Biden. You know, this is what the message is took in there. Some American troops probably because of course a senseless war and one the country in this. Yeah, but say it tells you how business minded the man is. Because yeah, and Yaman no bombs no mutuguno. Aye. Any F-22, F-35, a move back one. American states, United States government, the police, the soldier, the army, Oman yo mutu. A tuno a big company, a yatiti company, a CTV company, and the building tuno, a guho, man a beton. Yeah, they do that now to sell wood because one ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles bomb by BTS, that could be about $1.2 million. It's you go on. Company buying Isika and a company BDN. And you look at the business size of Bibi Netanyahu because it's a businessman. You look at the businessman of the United States, President Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump, also a businessman.
One he were all out. And why no the world should not see it because Iran was PP. And now I could that is not the case. The case is that you are looking at the political advantage to Bibi Netanyahu. You are looking at the business side of both of them, and you are looking at how it would affect the world economy for Wall Street also to enjoy. Because as we speak, Wall Street, because there will be a surge in the prices of crude oil, and that is where they make their money. So the Wall Street people will push the agenda for the fight to continue, so that the prices of fuel, the prices of energy will go up. You know very well said, when prices of fuel goes up, it doesn't affect the United States of America because the essence of the fight, the essence of Akochi Maduro, the essence of the Omu war, 40 million over 40 years reserve of fuel. And in Tokoesia, it doesn't affect them. But Ghana, Obenya, Togo, Obenya, Europeans, Obia, Benya, like I said, the fuel dealers, energy dealers, fuel marketers, in America, Wall Street, no good. This is the time they make huge money. So they will hail him, they will support him. And then the arms and ammunition producing manufacturing companies, they are in business. By the time then they start another production. And it is a kind of a game. This is a game. Till today, American Congress have not authorized, have not constitutionally allowed the United States president to go to war. It is being clever. We declare military operation or military action. What are they not saying? And then the U.S. executive law, the president can go into military action. That one is temporal. Obama called military action to go and execute duty of killing your friend Osama bin Laden. That was a military action. But military action is just only beam. Then you return to the base. That is action. Or operation is to go and tear down and do X, Y, Z. Yakob bombu Iraq, Iran. Yabombu, your military action. But this one is a full scale because you move a USS Gerald Ford. You have moved USS Abraham Lincoln with the 40,000 troops on alert and put the whole region, 12 vessels, 12 ships on alert. It is a war. Which constitution, which Congress approved that? And nobody is able to do that. Yeah, a very sad story. And at the end of it all now, America will instruct, say, fight in the they will instruct, say, either you are with us or you are not with us. Now, NATO are the NATO members. But at the end of the day, say, Denmark, Trump, and ma Europeans in and the next country, Italy, Spain, any countries no weapons along the American side, France, and UK, and Comet Robert. Then I know say UK is preparing to go and support one because ground troops, American ground troops, they cannot stand the Iranian Revolution Guard. The British and the France, the Bitimako Gota, or Bitimako community fight on the floor. Or when it comes to say a full-blown invasion, and the dynamics of the whole thing, no, Papana created a very big mess for the world to pay. But you and I should be very watch out. Say, Iranians, will not give up easily. I'm very cautious because I've followed and I know this region and how they do things. Yes, American for joy. Yes, Iran for declare 40 days of mourning for Ayatollah Khamenei. My dear, I can tell you on authority, say, when it comes to war strategy with the Arabs and others, they the man. They could be hiding the man to reduce the Americans' potency of destroying the country, looking for the man. Because that's what President Trump won't say. Obekunu. Into a normal pen. Okay, admit Yakunu. Ebisa normal the next year. It's a very dynamic.
Nanka me ye bisa se ye tisi yakuno ye share that who Iran for some but they are telling some so better take revenge. But as to so be me ye hu amparampa say
Iran for admit it. Say yakuno, but Iran culture like any other cultures. Omu commanders ni generals from Kuyen. Omu nya omu body no. Omafa. They will bury. You will see. But as we speak, they admitted say Yakunu, but they are not admitting say Yakunu body.
Exactly.
Let's say the the coin 22 bomber no, and it's yes Tom Hawk no. I go deep into fans and the office now. Muklimu say Oma no. The office goes deep down, but the Tom Hawk will go deep down and escalate and then kill. That's why destroyed. But I suspect strongly say time na no minim said Trump. Edit our vessels Naba area no peninsula and so on. There's a high possibility the Omdinakusi. Because up to now, no Oma declare more than 40 days, but they've not shown the body to bury him. If it was done last night, not much as I know of. And if you are checking carefully, this is the man the Iranians will protect to their last. So I think surprisingly, say Omdinesi. So they will make the world agree. They will make the Americans comfortable, Israelis comfortable, say yes. But Mossad is saying, say, they were very much sure, say, the man was in the building at the time. Because from some information, they are using the Afghan refugees and build the Mossad network. And women are here as security, as watchmen, cleaners, the palaces, the Israelis for no use to it's more or less, Israel for to a serious intelligence network. Because I could buy operation on Moyano. Jet fighters, surveillance flights, surveillance jets, no, the names ringing. Yeah, take it from any American for an there be. Because Israeli machines will use one American for use. Israeli jet fighters, and it's 52 bombers, the team use America for them without any extra training because it's the same thing. Only name region. And when it comes to real fighter, America for women are Arab for women to try. And to that be Israel for the quiet fighting. And to the also need America for my cover. And Israel for use American equipment in the human
Hey. Na asem no kwa Jimmy say because osha fiti weekend na besi na ase enya de hwadwo obia we so be take revenge we so be say but Al-Wahab mimisa senia wamma ye history am ye hu de wo say ade ne nya bibia ye political na say bia business wise and amasa de nyina ekoso no senia wo che say United Nations kwa say waye toothless bulldog bi wo kase enti se dia ekoso yi amama hodo ayen yaka no and then ye betimi aye because we are the mercy of this thing
and you so amsa na so na so to go so beju no I called you akutu ya dema also amsa no sorry you could do so sorry that to some part Ghana na so need to go koto ekokon America beti ase France beti ase
Debbie.
We are talking about no invasions, to respect the international law, sovereignty rights, sovereign nations, and their sovereignty rights are respected. I think that when it comes to these two countries, and for that matter, Israel and Kwa, they don't respect any countries. We look at Lebanon, very quiet country. Lebanon, the army crying the smallest in the world because the population, Israel and Lebanese population outside Lebanon is 5 times bigger than the one inside Lebanon. They have about 3 million. They have about 20 million population outside the world. The same thing like Israel. So the population inside is less than 5 million, less than 4 million, but the population outside is about 70 million across the world. And now we are 24. But he goes there because the Lebanese need army. Or fighting could do only by route. Recently, or fighting into the personal. Now, in the name and the strength and the strongness, our original, not Israel teaming could use in airspace and Iran easy, was the Bashar. Bashar was the Syria. And women they know the same last year now and no more rebels criminals. America would declare them as criminals. ISIS rebels they be taking the government of Omar Bashar. Your friend said Assad. President Assad. This is what happened. If Assad was still in Syria, they wouldn't have been able to use the airspace because it's easier to fly over Syria. Iran is there you go. Either than that, as all way to the Persian side, Okakofa, Kurdistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, airspace and then what might be Iran. Majority of them. You put the border because Turkey man will use decide to enter Iran. Because Turkey is against what is happening. And the easiest way is say, Assad no Assad no and Israel one tries to Iran. The Assad free on operation 12 days no now your friend say made done whatever no. They couldn't have done it easily because Assad wouldn't have permitted them, and that's going to be blue. Yeah, check. Media houses, almost phone.
Mate, Al-Wahab ya dasa papa nyamishrao. Many abema Farouk Al-Wahab diplomatic consultant wa ben eba abakosema amama ya nkomodie ene amama ya hodo bambo ho nsam a na se ade we ye da kwe Keche ya asemo na Israel na nkasa no minimum interest because utie history ya Al-Wahab dia maye ya e kire say wo mo kranya bibi nti no wo ku ba America no nim so betimi use Israel dia nya de ono pe no and wo use wo no so follow blindly.
Yeah, and you're blindly. You see.
Okay, because both of them and I say both sides, be our benefit. I will be and Tokana Elkosunimo because Israel person or you know the tone, Niyama Waye, and I can say America so and him so Benya Sikam is answer or no oil on Sanya man or so well backup war into Odiano and short and fun
for 40 years.
For 40 years.
America will back up for 40 years when it comes to oil. Until then, you see, we are seeing in our fan go ashort. Ye need fuel. America bet me at for 40 years. On be use oil, a fuel.
Oil wire says you no consent car. Your man crofo we quite cry.
I check be many president Kufu Dinko movie. I'm not catching them say catch me. Or no friend me offer say yo ye war oil wahanum. But I can't debate no. Sika I done obusika bi oboy na minti dim.
We have trillions of dollars.
Say serious.
Yes, ye ni akadia na ye debate.
Ye ni ye ni akadia ye debate. Nti eno an say odi betu na mai. Ti say you go. Na you go na mai kakra. Until recently, not the whole Ghana you go di na no to mai saying. I think it was 3%.
Yeah, 3%.
The whole Ghana you go.
So my increase in kakra mai.
What you say? So that is the problem. But Osha, media, I don't know what Israel seek to achieve.
Exactly.
Any America. So to one more say me kotwa will be so.
Now we hear the Al-Wahab weekend. One manufacture 2 any bomb need the go. So good on day. It was to one account back on no say. Ya tofa hanebi a honey benyan fast work a clear free wa no makotwa. Because
ballistic missiles here, okay. Miss and the same Kausi person and they call Russia will be brave. North Korea will be. there are other one was anyoma we be war and na Al-Wahab came was say a nuclear weapon one came for energy and for war. But America won't to me finance in the say okay yehu baku say waha and yehu bi and ya kosizibi and no. So what is that?
Because they just want to continue to control the system, the control we are say. Now quite to say without them you can't survive. And you see that's the reason why you're money Russia. Or money Russia for Omufa Hansi Hano.
Ah, yeah, history man me who say Europeans including America. One more enslaved yen.
Yeah.
Russia enka.
Oh yes.
Russia colonize any African country.
That one is true.
African country be one of Russia colonize no. What you say? Now mo to and na mo dia mo sorry ya dima ya o mo kuku can you want me to say? And yeah, you see sometimes you see it challenges my belief as a Christian. So I ask myself so many questions. Say
Israel
Nyankopon echusu
no more say omo decide ne ye
and the pastor was trying to convince me say the Israel Kupon choose was a human being, it was not the nation. But out of that human being the nation was established, came the nation. Okay, so
it hurts. No na Al-Wahab kano yeah. But adia ba ko ye mareko over the weekend. Was asem ya e course mu ene se. Won se Al-Wahab ka se wa me ate ase se we no e betimi affect fango ho ton and ase ni dwadie ho akasa because America no wote wono ono backup ho. Wono wonim se chiro so a or 40 years reserve. It opa kobe 10 years or no enfane ho opa kobe 20 years or no enfane ho na o hwe yen ya wanu anu he ya ni Togo ni Cote d'Ivoire ni ya wo 18 mu hanom no ekoba na sa ya ne ho be kire yen na anu na me hu se ka kire se Ghana ha yete no ho politics no edidi yetirimu to the stand say timamufo ho kire wo mo a na look as if said the ono wo opposition no eye ne de wonim say asemi see ye NPP journalist sana meka no so mo frɛ binum NDC journalist
I see
NPP journalist binum atiti social media ayam boa ya ho patro boa be kwasoro si ya se dwama ama na aba no wati petro so ena ye bose na mo ya mamboya forsa
yeah simple
mo ya mamboya forsa me show post na ma bisa me ho say so what do you stand to achieve with this kind of post it is as a petro boa kwasoro a one and over children.
Confubont ne say o mine.
Enti chasa akwa te say ye no o mine akwa te say ya timamufo ne ya ho kire yen ya. Na ya nkwafukuo bi de. Enti na nsenya asafu ba eba afom a Ghana fo nyina ho aha yen kakra no. Say nya nkrofo bi de wo. Say nya nkrofo bi de.
Yeah, for political gains.
For political gains intimi no me no ya ho kire yen.
Yeah.
Make you ho amenti ase o. And you see, we share mama, any kind of post to be a 1 more year. And I begin to notice, there's a cray, so only papa could be over tunnel. Now, say Ghana folk to Mamufoni now, Hobert 1 more, Sanko Fukuano pay. Enterprise Mahama ba ya wama Ghana fo nyina mom ya ho atoye no Sanko Fukuano ayomo ya
be ya dan na nipa na campaign message opesa ya ho kire
medwene wa
Ghana fo ho kire yes as simple as that
ti akwati say so omo hwe ne ma president ma ye na no makoma yo omo ya wo ye ni yie dodo Ghana fo ho to wo mo Ghana fo ho nya de ne benya aka so nipa ne to nyina no ma opesa BBC no nya campaign message.
Politicians for you, yeah?
Hey.
It cut across.
Politicians
but
you see, very careful. Yentimin to us said ya to us ya said ya hu yentimin to us
mindset we need to change our mindset, the way we think, the way we reason. We need to think logically outside the box. Positively. But we are not doing so.
I now understand the reason why His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was preaching reset agenda. We need to reset this country and reset the mindset of young Ghana for Nankasa, because adwene we ye tiri mu nya adwempa obi se eye ne yase fu obo aba fom, eye ne yase inflation atiaba fom, eye ne yase aduane abu Ghana chese nipa no eniema ekoso within 1 year eye ne ya na we anya bayi a ayade
na yan summarize way onipa bia obedwene sabia no bayi is extra bayi kwa no wa man nipa na chese why obi a obetimi adwene sabia no ya one wo ye bayi bonsam
chese me nwanwa
sebio na dwene enye adwuma 3 wo ye mambani 4 wo ye jimifo. As simple as that. So wo man need di o man need koyie na se wutie kire na ye ho ahehan yen kakra no wompe
ne ho tete no
wompe de ande se wo ye be bonsa wo ye nipa.
And that's the reason why Oma champion sa cocoa sector issue as asem bia ni Ghana biem. Because as Obasha afia ba betwam bosumi bia ba betwam wo mo hye she nti wo mo akasa peso mo creative bibi nti wo mo tena wa mo hu se cocoa issue abape e no mo ehwirisi so mame bi sa wo mo eye saade ne say wo sa first no se Ghana price nya ye nyina ye nim say yes mo ga ye de kwa he nye Cote d'Ivoire e kwa na ye de ko Cote d'Ivoire e no metima ka say na number 1 obi kura ba dwin Togo no na no eye secondary thought to be kura na nipa no, but the first thought e ba nipa na dwemu say se Ghana price a me penye na e bia Ghana so ye ntobi koko a the next destination e Cote d'Ivoire ade na kokko akwa no mo fam ayi koko ne Cote d'Ivoire. Because Cote d'Ivoire is here, price now Cote d'Ivoire for tono. I think it's around 1,600 and something or so.
Ghana there no more.
Ghana price no kwa pay. And to say yeah Cote for no kwano. Almost smuggle Cote d'Ivoire because ho kwano wa mo ntompo. Price ni nye. Enti wo hye NPP for so ban your money yen de te Ghana ha. Say ni ntu na no mu bu amane troka na ye kasa no mu ntie no. Afen na Matias ye die ntia na niema bo kosoro shim ya kan NPP fasi oba so na oba be ka che say Russia Ukraine war COVID-19 afen na Matias ye the reason why say ni ye bre wo krom ha no omu wi ayen ya kwa kan NPP fo nya no Russia Ukraine war COVID-19 enti wo mo te wono sa enkrofukwa kakra bi na wo mo se fu wono ekota 30 cedis per liter ko obetimi ato na me nu mienu ye ntimi nto no ono emfa ne ho. Enti me no kasa sisi ai Israel ne Iran front to koya bay womani agi because fu wo bo bekosoro ei mu ya bay fu papa enti muti wanyina adwene wo mutirim no se ene amabo anya den fu wo bo nkosoro yanto gas yanto cha say me wudi amopese kuro ne ye ya won chire ya the expense of dying. What do we stand to gain? What do we stand to achieve? And you will see a journalist, an NPP journalist for that matter. No about throw on Facebook. Yet more embrace se fu abu because that's the reality. I've heard more reality asem. I've heard more reality asem. Enti mo to am pabo nyina ne se bibi nsi disaster bi nsi na kuro no ne ho nkire no. Wo kwakwa mo si ai ya se inflation atia aba from na so ne ma bo okosoro eche se wo bon. Samu ni ma de Musori anamuna ai na say journalism ayafo obi atira TV so anoka na wo hwe nipa no kase journalism ayafo ne nkwasasem bia okeka na wabisa ho say da say nipa so ofiri he ya kase inflation atiaba 3.2 and asa 3.5 wa ni nchire mu nyina say the rate at which ankania maboa ekosoro no ejina 3.2 and 3.5 it is ade no kane na 2 cedi na akwa na bia ya tum 2 cedi 30 pesos and asa bibia eno go no 30 pesos be 0.3 now be catch me say kane na uto milk 2 cedi and I uto milk ni 2 cedi 30 pesos and asa 2 cedi 20 pesos inti ni maboa kosoro inflation na ye se ate aba from no won ti ase wabon. First na inflation nam 53.1% no wo kwato ade ne wo kwato anwan ne 600 cities obekwa ade abachi na da 650 ade abachi obekwa na da 700 obekwa be ene kwa ya masa anwakufo gallon no na ne nam 1200 sesen no enti se na anwane nam 600 550 e kire se ntumu na wo se nka hwim no e gina 3.5 and 3.2%. Mabubonti ena ye kwadwoma ya to niamam wabisa ho se san na abeka ho muni ma dia so kra mon san ensua na nipa na be twere gu Facebook no wagya ho no kɔ because onu ya MPP na didi ni tirim eto one person obetie hwe enti na dwene kyerɛ ne sɛ sisi Iran for any Israel for ko fu obo nya den ni enya campaign message ni enka sɛ ai sɛ ye ka kyerɛ mo sɛ nya President Mahama ɛna amafu wala ba fam na nya ono na ye hwan say even one market price kra aba fam a won't na is it 2022 or 2021 crude aba from our world market national Ghana for na yante so na money Ghana ha it was because na you see the no nam 17 cities and ever say ya to we see no na papa ko na no akotɔ it is we see ni ahoɔden a ukotɔ ne boa be ye den. And I say one market price above from Tina President Mahama time yet for was it is because dollar no sidi na chesi no sidi na nya ahoden enti na wo here sidi kakra bi na wo de akwa dollar na wo de akoto sa crude say you petrol na ye de ba no. This simple analysis mutimi nye enti wato na mpa nyina ne say ye fuwali bu ansan kwosore fuwa ibu ansan kwaso na minya message fuwa ibu amsa na ni refi say eyetimamufuo no ana mo ho be kire wo mo afa na mati ase de nti ana ye bra ne ye kasa na NPP fo nti ase ye bra no amani ye no ni anya economists no abejo aka cha say if the fundamentals are weak your exchange rate will expose you. It is true then and it is true today. Meanwhile it is true today no ntimi defend it. It was true today, no, but we are not even defended. And now, one part when you answer for 1 year, now on your day, when you campaign message. Ah, Muhu ni wu papa, and now me always say NPP tia konya so our bomb mine or say pro, anu krani ya ampo. NPP for spirit ya to mumuno. And now say uka omu history. That is how they are. NPP for nye ni paku a mo peye die mo aman we ekofo no mo de ne be brim ye ni so amodi kofo na be brim ye ni so amorua character ena akufo do be showcase kire ye no so mo wi aman no mo say kuro no that's their hallmark enti na omoti wo bom paye mu oden se Israel ni Iran for kunti ka kire fu wo bonya den no munya binka say ye ka kire mo say nya President Mahama na amafu wo boaye den forgetting say enne sidi na enya ahoden no ene na ama say world price no kra ye teso a ye nya impact ene world price ekosoro a wo di sidi ene ekọ dollar akọ a ba bia wo sidi na hoden gina no ene be determine so wo na be kosoro na say enkosoro amamboyefo abayifo a ye ne moti krom. And as a change catcher said, your Obeka Kufadu Assembia were your bayfo. It's also a Beka Mahama Assembia war bayfo. Yes, I won't pecroni ye. The President Mahama, Yana Beba Chrono, Yanina, one high no, just a we are bayfo. Babu some pecroni ye, and to one quite Chisham journalist of Fuanachi, no much on Passasam or Facebook. Mon pa mo bono, a bell bomb one casamutriso. Motiye because Ghana for ye ni sika ya do so cha mo sa akata no there's no way yakopon be hwe mo sa ankrofo we so no aka se wo ma bone mra kuro no mo e wa se ya reset madwen adwen na dem tirim no nya adwen pa mo say man you don't deserve to get close to power anymore because adwen wo mo tirim no mo say Ghana no do he kra na you can buy. Meme ne ka kire ye ni sa ahode na ebetimi atonti yati ye mpa ba ya boni se rade ho ya mobo na fo obo akosoro ya mpa ba ya boni se rade ho ya mobo na sidi no sidi anya ahode wo de ba ni nyina hwa onko na chi nko na nim kwa de onyina hwa ye pene sa ya mpa ba ya bono no ba NPP fo she chira wa mo mpaebo mo bo nyina nne ene se erade yesira wo mafu wali jampe yenya message nka abaifo amamboyafo aye ne muti krom mo boman mo binu mo akronfo enti ya do man sha mo sa no wia yan hwenyame ne no wia kuro no mesi sika sha NPP fo binu ho ya ka ni nyina bo mo betimi ahra Ghana ba se 40 years. You have no idea. Another reason why Oben Ghana ni bia na ni buafu ni bufu se bibia ti o ora. Because we know say some people have the money. Wa ma wi sika no. E hihye wa mo passe. E bi hihye binu politankim. E binu makwa chichiri kuro ba bi foforo. Wo konkon for foreign account mo hu sika tam. Properties and for to UK any America. Na no abranti abi kwa meti say wakoto property wa America. Sabe we kwa me to sabe ni Jimmy okoto property ni wi no ade ne girlfriend di nkwa yeye omuko position na girlfriend na jai no na ohwe na brabo ase popra girlfriend akwa property do wa America no ni wa kira ne kwase ya
enye ne yire
ne
girlfriend
na meti ne pani di na me say na ti say wuti a na so nyina adwenim Timi for man Ghana sika koto property na do girlfriend dia kwa koto so.
Ya unim sa
mo dia mo so ne mawia na ebo mo no NPP for mo be brese.
Exact. Adia we ho. We shouldn't listen, let me be honest with you. Yeah, politics. You say ya ma yesikan no afenu nyina ntwa.
Exactly.
But ebi mo ho no mo a sisi Ghana is ranked among the 10 best African countries.
Yempe o da bi ya kram pesa de no da bi.
Let's speak to the truth. Let's speak to the facts. My young no. That's why sometimes I have disagreement with people. Rebecca say, Sebiota Frache, the previous government in Nigeria, no, Amembuano ayen twaso. But when you do comparative analysis, ofaway, now wafaway, now washe, no one near a babu minor, any baby or minor air aircraft. What you say? Some property I will come say me, Duka dayo. And this year people are moving out to tow.
And I make Kenya, woman out of you. Enti me no me no kakra mfa so kakra me no me no aya wo fom ha ya ye ne ho hwe de ye benya ne senka fu wale se de president Mahama aboa ya e wo fom na nka wo fom na me no wo ye ho aheha ye so senia enuane abakurom sese kra afiafo e ka so aban beto ye bia ne man na afa aduane aba fom na me no me no ye ho aha ye niama ye import di bakurom na ne boa ba fom te se mo anwa sese ne boa ba fom na me no me no ye ho aha ye because me no Yante Bank of Ghana hobby. Me know Yanti Ministry hobby. Me know Yanti Agency hobby. Enti wa mine send ya benya kaminu mi no so ya benya mfaso wo so. Ene send ya man keten basic needs. Ya ho beto yen. Ya be ya kwan ama yen. Se ko ba bi a construction site e kwan ye koso de yen ye benya no no. Enti se wo wia 10 na wo de be 15 ayo man adwuma nkanya ya na wo ntimi wia be se 20 na wo fa 2 emro man no
wickedness
eno de na ya timode eno ni ade a na MPP fo ye no omo fa ni boom na sha service kanda ye da we ya asam
keto omo fa ni boom o wo tam
no omo de kwa
wo tam
on one jabi.
You see, politicians be so wicked.
Very wicked.
They are so insatiable. They are so weak. I am a dream who I'm in Tiasia. So, a Danny saying, I would give me a hand. I would have. Castle do and yet the more day constituents and every. Now with tablets, you got times on and one and what on.
Naka yatia, Nano won't see Yana, honorable a contomna MP. Sir, Timmy, I issue contracts. Eddie Amacha, I want to miss a cocoa rose, one quiet quine, new chrome. Walk on Judy Quana, one foot run, or Judy had no, I don't know, why your quino. Sicado way.
Yeah,
you see,
and your Hong Kong, Manso.
Media maker,
me drive from my car if you had echo inspector, and I'm interview one year. One catch them say, Massa. Yeah, sample no said, dear man, co bahiano, Skako, woman, is Kaki 20, a quite way, the bay 20 years in the bay view, a quine yet. Manso,
can you imagine?
A quine.
Way, yo. Way,
yeah, I can't say the book.
May say, hey, Jama to be contract on the man of me and family home, and Yamia. because sabe previousa ebia me papa ne de ma na se me nua be ma bi ne de ma na sanka be me de. But my point is that yama contract na ko ye adwuma no. But what dia yama contract na wa for sika no na wa kopo ba bia tena. I mean ye chichiro man sama ne ye and sound system no ne ko for 8 years. Yama nipa contract ne de sika ama no akopo ba bia tena no wo chele.
Na wonte hanom na road minister be ka kire ye. Yama man for sika over $37 million or 37 million Ghana cedis. Omon fire kwai na kwan amanye sika
na se agenda 111 ene de be ya agenda 111 no ya be agenda 111 no we de kwa de nyobia o auditor general report Ghana for nyina kopa bi nkan what kind agenda 111 reporter what auditors general ne krato ade ba ya wo se be fem na wabisa wo say nti wo mo ye di sa contract ne ma wo mo ene sika wo mo gye no nti wo nia badaye kakra kwa mo man no omu nia yam hihye kakra kwa mo man no obu ahwa ye the mobilization fund and I say mobilization manual say den dia ma no o gye sika na onko site wo kwa anko ya hwe pabam okọ wa mo tutu ya no foundation ebia no ato blog ba 2 3 eno so okọ
ya embra bia eni ho no me ye adwuma na was expect ne senka don do
ma na charge wo mo no see ente hwi bi
ente hwe oh eno na ye amanfo ya eno na amanfo di ye was Ghana for to aba edema NDC to take over the governance and make sure say wo bia we wi yen fa ye sika wa fa ye japade ye nsase bia embra ne nadi let us say embra ne ndro san nadi o kan ya ka kira say in lord ye embra ne de dragi ya twini nya enti enya mutem ko si da ban
tini ye bre no tini ye bre de wa ya judicial system wo kroma ne de nya me ni no
change mbra ne
ko ye kra o
ukoye say wo China
ukoye ba kwa wontimi nka o masem so e di enya
Germany ukoye say
and say oh come masema na we you careful enu so na edi yawu
careful
asam kokoto asam ne be chesa asam betime di be 8 years 10 years na asam da so te court
your judicial system na wrong bad mbra bia wo di eduma wo man
na to man be nkura ni eya metimi twamani hwa Ghana say ya hwa Ghana for asam bia na nado danko akufa do ka kire ye bia na enokure wo o mayi nyo hia man anam refi
je tisika so
na nado danko akufa do ka kire Ghana for say o man we nyo hia man and it is true o ka kire say tisika so akom de yen
it is true wonya bebre
so no say tisika no onim say tisika so
yes
nanado danko akufa do na wonim say tisika so enti no ka kire Ghana for say Ghana nyo hia man na amamwo boni nti e na am o man ne bre yet sika so and the comedian enti wo hu sika na asa no oba o wo hu say do mo fum sika na left right center back wo hu say do mo fum sika na to say che say medwe no wa menti ase
politicians
enti say NPP 40 wo sisi a woni mpaibo obobo fu abo ankosoro because message back o manya ye koko and say o ma hu say koko no e ya tosuom na no ayi ono aba afanya marking okwa wo mo ayi ya kana say wo mo station yo mo do mo ye propaganda so ko joy na o mo bisa ne say e de ma me kana de ba de na tikroma wana ka cho say media house be neutral me na me sa ansam hunu no ya me pesamati o media house bia ni Ghana ha ye neutral wo mo boa obi a won interest ya de yen
obi a won
interest journalist ye bia no abaka cho so ye neutral journalist abaka cho so ye neutral ka che ne say me ya titi me so boa
does nothing like someone being neutral
me tie me nya neutral
yeah
me nya be neutral obi a nya neutral wana ka kire o wuti musa media house mitimi set agenda na of course ko anya agenda setting David wanya agenda setting agenda setting theory wanya bi na aye bi na afede en
David se na nim so okoye TV production
why public relations bi as theory wasua media house ne trase no wa set agenda no wa hihye adwuma masa obi our experience o
the gatekeepers
well my gatekeepers ni yenye biem me ka no kra kire Ghana for journalist bi obeka che Ghana ha so ye neutral bi aka che nsam so boa o interest wana ka kire wo akwati na joy wo ma misa ne say enti say na Cote d'Ivoire bo aba from no den obeka o so oni interest o Cote d'Ivoire no interest o Ghana. Meanwhile beginning when say conversation is starting for cocoa price normally have to Cote d'Ivoire and na money Ghana na minority for no more fire to Cote d'Ivoire who say Cote d'Ivoire maintaining FOB price Cote d'Ivoire for you say Cote d'Ivoire for you say abe go dey chire no wan so mu Ghana
no be catch them say I think I heard that interview on one of the radio stations or say Cote d'Ivoire for no cocoa no na dey no I know say dey na premium when it comes to and to say Cote d'Ivoire for cocoa types be 3 or 4 am say cocoa no say na tie ho I stand to be corrected. Maybe I need to be educated on that.
Oh, me agree. I
need to be schooled. Anti-Yedia no ne Cote d'Ivoire. There was a difference. And I'm saying, Ghana, we have the premium one, the premium cocoa. Yes, for that one I know. But say, Obeka say, Cote d'Ivoire for cocoa types be 3. And no. And that Cote d'Ivoire for
that's a big lie. Omo to akro munya akro mo do kokoo ne beba ha ba beton ne so ye kra ye de kra ye ntonwie ya ba beton obi de so ahu omo start ya do de to Cote d'Ivoire ho na mo de afa omo hu se Cote d'Ivoire de na nwe ne se no afa de afa nyoma kense wono ko nye interested in Cote d'Ivoire
ya me person bisa wasemo Ghana yen yet to me determine boa ye beto ye kokoo
ye better dey determine ye tie see ade value bia to it.
Okay, so international market
determine and you see that's the reason why His Excellency John Dramani Mahama catch Ghana for say it's high time we add value to the cocoa beans because yet to be found there be a raw na anko say ade value ye nya be kira price a ye beton what you say and I am ya say journalism no say nya ya na ye Mama can say anya na yo enti me to be intro meka me no kra kire me interest ne say President Mahama be succeed sa 4 years here where nimu ya twa 1 year mo na twa mu 3 years akai me interest and say President Mahama should succeed and I can boldly tell you say I voted for him because I need a change Kurono na akoso na time me dem say me friend na me kwana secret voting why secret voting I voted for President Mahama and I voted for el-Iran-C0nfli I want to me kwa benya and I'm proud of voting on 7th December for President Mahama because they are not me shushano and no na me nya no because it me say forward am 17 series na ni pack 12 bi kwa bi kwa let me tofu Unem say lady be be video say no onim say for betimi aba be 9 cedi na 10 cedi ka wanton ne car because Ghana ha any titun kan ha woni car wonante ye ya bra bebre
ukogba asem we so
movement ye restricted say hu dia wonya ho wo pese okoye bibi from ha to ha kra say bra bebre ne wo ba ufa masa obia ni kroma no wonya car ompe enti fu ba from a other than any cause me manage I have an interest na nipa no ti media house bia so no pay ya wo hwe no ono so our interest obia ni ho ye neutral obia ni ho mo bia na adawo ye ni media houses na omo ye NPP media houses omo set agenda low key omo nyam wo so omo ye NPP for but we know them no man we professionalism na then who na catch us professionals who na catch us so professionalism no and no the agenda tia NDC aban no they do it low key me who am ba be kan ti yase me nye me who am ba be kan agenda multimedia ye okro ba se agina ye hu amu so asaba ku mo be ka who am interest yakofo su kra asem duebo mo sori ahwa na mbese akwa mo se omo ye propaganda nti ye ko defend na sa nipa na twa ne ho na wutimi se na no onim se Amansia Central story ya omo gigina mu omo kwa ye na akwa mo kwa grass kwa bise mu yie e na omo ni assembly members ni di nkoma akoma hu se MC yi no onye boni bia
yeah
Amunya boni bia ba because say for Galamsey story World Cup say nothing has been done on the Galamsey fight, they just wanted to do something at all costs. One say we actually Amasa Central Story and Yabada ho say DC no anya boni bia o. Ade ono ba beto so a na even more MPP for mo DC no sasika no mo je na sasika na nko DC ni botom. E kwa assembly na count him. So I'm to amubudo mo bi se mu a me ya sure se nko me say DC no anya boni bia agenda nti. So agenda nti no dimri kan no mo dey to TV so and DC is taking money and protecting Galamsey and yen because wama fa Galamsey what cap say e kwan bia so the abani ye bia de who appreciate na be catch me say wonya agenda fanti NDC abai wonya MPP ni na ya dey wo ya dey no be catch me so e neutral na ma jiwadi who born dog mo bia phone line no me yenko media kroma say sa esamunu na akofo de TV ni radio so e na media be neutral na me oboa ono no oye sa no kra no wadu oman na wu onim no kra pass wonka
there's nothing like someone being neutral
pass onka
obi an mo ye neutral woman
one ye neutral
obi an ye neutral
one to sa na asesam na kire wo adwuma no ye nyina na ye yo ye nyina ye hia ye nyina ye di nkomo ye nim adwene won krofo tirim
neutral
one na catch us say journalist a what Ghana ha ye neutral one na catch wo
o de
neutral come your appointment I catch them boa yeti krom ha journalist ye neutral akwabo je appointment free party aba ba
ya obi en hono ma wo ye neutral
NPP GB na DC 4 GB one na catch us obi ye neutral
obi en ho ye neutral obi an ye neutral. You see, when people want to become hypocrite, this is
pure hypocrisy. Pure hypocrisy.
It's hypocrisy.
NPP journalists, titi ayi social media so fu abo be kosro. Nyame betua mo ka ba ko na say mo no ya wo kire ya na ya mo de.
Yam fa course no amin chia professor.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.